This is the really awkward part of every time I do this full screen video stuff, because I need all my stuff on the other side of the screen so I can see the game, but I need all the stuff on the other side of the screen so I can play the video. So we've always got this just awkward lull before the music comes back. Perfect, nearly perfectly timed. And then I can look at my little sheet of notes, which I definitely have and is definitely going to be useful. So if we just pretend that last 20 seconds didn't happen, and I've not lost my chat, and I'll cut this out in the edit. I don't edit. And then I go, where on earth am I? Anyway, what's the time? Brilliant, the time. Well, I'll tell you what the time is. The time is between 9 PM and 11 PM. The day, it's probably Sunday. I think the intro video is telling the truth there. And the year is definitely 1520. It's also the 1st of January, but we'll ignore that part. This is 1520. This is session number 3 of Two's Company, our Europa Universalis 4 campaign. And there's a lot of stuff kicking off. One might say it's all kicking off. Do I have my mic muted? No. Good start. Good start. Seamless start. So before we unpause, let's quickly go through them. Most of the action is in India. However, let's have a quick look at what's going on over here. It's Total War. Total War in Japan. Very nearly Total War in Japan. What are Paraguay doing? Paraguay are at war, so they're at war in China. But who cares about that? Let's come back to India. There's a lot. We need to spend some time in India. Okay, so Varmsund, this is Garavdesh, of course. Varmsund separately trying to fight off Teshuvah and Communist Luxembourg. It's not going especially well for them. What's next on my list? Oh, I do remember last week actually, because Revolutionary Rebel took ages. He said, oh, I'm leaving, and then he stayed, and then he left just as Australia Major embarked on a major war, which they are undoubtedly winning. Yep, plus 49% war score against Malaya. Who knows what they actually want from that war? They want quite a bit. Fair dues, lads. What else? We have... Right. Oh no, we've got one more war in Central Europe. Now, it's not strictly between Yarnum and Heilig Malches, that's Darflouts and that's Shamed respectively. It's between Osterode and Huronia maybe, and they've dragged in the player countries with them. And who knows how that's going to turn out for either side. Who knows, and who doesn't necessarily care. But right, India. And you know where we're going to start with for this India war? We're going to start with Hispania. What have Hispania got to do with the Indian wars? Hispania are colonising. They've colonised Brazil. And they've declared war on Ceará. I looked it up. That's how you actually pronounce Ceará. 3 sessions in and I can finally do it. So this is Ceará. Now we might remember, let's zoom out. And we remember that Ceará got some land over here. So if we go to Hispania and look at who they're at war with. They're at war with Ceará's land over here, and somehow, I haven't quite figured this out yet, because I've not bothered looking at it, but Caminots are at war with Hispania. I think, yeah, they were guaranteeing the dependence of Ceará. So it's Caminot versus Hispania, this war, and that's not a war that's really going to turn out well for them. Well, first of all, Hispania are losing the battles in their colony, to start with. If Ceará somehow managed to get that land, albeit they're going to lose most of their Indian holdings, but they could actually be, a contender in India. Now, second point I'll make before we drop over to India is I'm going to have, you might have seen in the intro video, the spread of institutions. Well, let's look at institutions. Obviously, Hispania, with colonialism, and they're quick to get Renaissance as well. They'll probably be relatively quick to get printing press, which will spawn in this area as well. But look at where all these institutions are spreading. They're spreading to their colonies. They're spreading to Ceará. And if Ceará was to embrace these institutions, they would make the jump all the way over here. And straight into the heart of India. So, tally-ho going Mayan has thrown up a lot of side effects which weren't necessarily expected. But anyway, we're straying from the subject. of just catching up on all the wars we've got going on just now. So we have the Tally-Ho themselves. They are digging back into Ceará, which is technically their land. Guianlane are in this war with them. Then we have... What wars are Nadeshar? Nadeshar are just in the single war. They are defending against Shambhala, and it's a 3-on-2 war on the side of the defenders. Shambhala and Kaminot versus Nadeshar, Mahasada, and the Punjabi prison. Neither entirely Punjabi, nor necessarily a prison. So we've got a 3-on-2 brawl going in across the entirety of Southern Asia. So it's all kicking off. I expect a lot more to be kicking off throughout Europe as well. The tributaries running away with it score-wise, but not necessarily in development. Let's have a look at this. Hispania leading the way. Our African countries are doing very well for themselves as well, and they still have a lot of miners to gobble up, especially in the Congo. Slavis Bay. Well, Slavis Bay have consolidated West Africa for themselves. They can push east. But anyway, I'm not going to waffle on for much longer. Well, I'm going to waffle on for the next 2 hours, but at the very least there'll be something going on in the background, which I'm sure will be very welcome to everyone involved. So we are going to kick it off. If there's anything you particularly want to see, shout out in Discord. I am probably reading Discord. And we're going to zoom right in here. So what is going on? Shambhala want the Bengal Delta. They have the Bengal Delta. They have a plus 31 war score. They're winning the battles, but they're surely outnumbered when it comes to troops, because that's just, it's straight up 3 countries against against 2 countries. It always takes me a little while to get into the, into the rhythm of commentary. So like the first maybe 15 minutes are horrendous, stumbling, terrible commentary in general, and then we get into it and it's still terrible, but there's no longer stumbling. That looks like a defeated army from Shambhala. So who's who? Because I keep getting mixed up between Shambhala and Mahasada. Well, that war did not last very long. And it looks like Mahasada just gave up not very much land. So Monquai... Oh, wait, what? What am I looking at? No, did they just give up the war completely? Did they what? I'm not sure what happened and I seen it right before my eyes. So I'm assuming someone's going to correct me in Discord as to what's actually happened. I certainly hope so, because if you're relying on me to be observant, then, it's a mistake. Weolumbia. Ah yes, Weolumbia versus Glorious Nippon. Remember, if one of these 3 of the former Japanese checkerboard, if one of the 3 unites Japan, then they can actually form the country of Japan, which could even be to their advantage. That is peace over here between Yarnum and Heilig Malches. And it looks like no real, I think, Osterode dictate Königsberg and Memo, and they're looking like a pretty sweet little Prussia in there. What are their ideas like? Nothing like Prussian ideas, nah, not at all. Have Hispania given up? Not just yet. I find that when you reload a game of EU4, the AI kind of has a reset, and they're a lot more likely to declare new rivals, declare peace. Oh yeah, Tver over here. Tver, or as we like to call them, TR-EV, it's like nearly the same. They don't even have a coast on the Baltic yet. But yeah, Tver are the 6th greatest power in all of the land. Shambhala into 8th place there. The tributaries in 4th. But Hispania rolling away with it. Hispania have gone up 13 development since we started. In this year, they've gone 13 development up. That might just be developing their provinces. Have they developed La Mancha, their gold mine? They haven't. See, this is the problem. And they've given it to the clergy. That's a horrendous decision. I started a Castile game myself earlier today. You make sure you just put every single diplo point you have into La Mancha. Colonial nations? Perhaps. I thought I moused over it and it didn't say, yeah, own development 606. It should take into account. Oh no, it's And oh, Hispania have actually landed an army over here now. That's not a good look for Sierra. So what are Tally Ho gonna do? They've got 80% war score. They could take a good amount of this. What would they actually take? They probably want it all because why wouldn't you? Do they still have cores? They don't have cores on this anymore. Is that interesting or not? I can't tell. So who's in trouble in Europe? Let's have a quick note of that. Well, I can see someone who may well be in trouble. Nero's reconquest of the Pale. The tolerant left are in against New Nero Empire. Epiphany and Oversticht are with them. Do Epiphany have any armies over here? It doesn't look like it. It looks like Epiphany are just letting the New Nero Empire die. The navies are going down. There are no Epiphany armies moving whatsoever. Oh, what has happened here? This is pretty bad news for Varmsund. Because what's happened here is that Varmsund were in a war against communist Luxembourg over the Åland Isles. And now communist Luxembourg took the Åland Isles, but that gave them enough war score to claim something else, and they took this island. Which means it's not all over for Varmsund just yet, because they still maintain a strait between Sjælland and Fyn. But the walls are closing in on Sjælland, or the seas, or whatever, and what have you. The New Nero Empire, they've screwed themselves over here. Because it's the New Nero Empire that have declared this war. And they're going to lose quite handily. The Torrent left, look at, like, one of these armies would destroy the entire New Nero army. Look, this army just hiding over here in Orkney, hiding over here in Ireland, and then look at the mainstay of the Torrent left forces crossing the Irish Sea. It's just too easy. Epiphany, I think Epiphany have lost this game already, because they've been out-expanded by Gorovdesh. Gorovdesh are allied to Hispania, and when Gorovdesh run out of rivals, say something happens to Rhine Nakara the Tributaries, Gorovdesh should kind of be coming for Epiphany. So I said we focus on India, and here we go, the Tally Ho. Oh, Gyanlane have gotten themselves. The Tally Ho are very generous. They've given 2 provinces to Gyanlane. Is that like kind of the central jungle that isn't worth very much? It's just 11 development as opposed to what Tally Ho took them. So Kamdesh I know is good. 18, 4, 10. But that is Tally Ho back on the map. Ish. I'm going to say ish. So the glorious Nippon trying to turn this war around, kind of managing it. That's less war score for Wayalumbi than they had last time around. The Peyote Khanates. Is this a new war? Hanseong they're defending against. They could have a decent go at beating those guys. Not in the mountains though. Wait until they come to Jiren and use their horde ideas. They're a Khanate. They're very good on flatlands, on the steppes. Wait for that army to come to that level 1 fort, to that step, and just smash him. Smash him with your cavalry. So Australia Major. Rev was struggling with the stream early. Probably didn't hear me say. But they were at war with like the entire main peninsula. And they've taken a fair chunk of land. A fair chunk of land. Let's just watch the disintegration of the New Nero Empire while my voice dies. Look at them desperately reaching out to Hispania. It's too little, far too little, far too late. Tributaries at war. The tribute conquest of Parma against quite a few I imagine 1 province miners. So yeah, it was an impressive list. It's a 1-on-5 war. Are Rhine Nakar in this? No, I should think not. The tributaries will handle their own business. Thank you very much. Could they theoretically beat the Tolerant Left's navy? No. They tried. And the What? Do Epiphany even have a navy apart from this? They've got 3 heavy ships as opposed to the 11 we saw over here. No, they're just getting completely smashed. They leave the port of Picardy and their navy dies. Obviously in some kind of actual multiplayer scenario, especially with Epiphany holding Devon. Epiphany would just station their entire army in Devon before the war happened. But the new Nero Empire, there wouldn't be enough coordination between the countries, between the AI to actually do that. Oof, what is going on over here? So Achaemenia have declared war directly on Mother Base. That's brought in Mother Base, Monorohan and Ganja. Whereas Mother Base are fighting the combined forces of Achaemenia, Chigoris, Punjabi Prison and Nicosonia. This is... So we saw Achaemenia last time out. They didn't do much. I don't think they fought any aggressive wars. They were saving up their favours with all their allies. The 4 points of the compass. They've got allies to the west, north and east, and they're driving south into Mother Base. So that's quite the major war. Monorohan as well. Monorohan. Here's the thing. If Chigoris don't get set upon by, say, the Hive, and the Hive are the only real threat to Chigoris at the moment, Chigoris can focus all their efforts on Monorohan. And indeed, even if Chigoris do nothing, Monorohan will have to cross this. Oh, that is beautiful, actually. Look at this. Temperate, temperate, temperate. Arctic Chigoris. Why on earth do I have that map setting on, you know, my quick bar? Who knows? But finally, it's come in handy. Who's Ganja? Ganja is this one. They'll be knocked out very quickly. Indeed, that is the first target for Achaemenia. Oh, look at this. This looks to be a war that is over. Kyoto has fallen. And we have a new shogun in town. Yoshiharu Santada Senpai. Shogun of Japan. What does this make glorious Nippon? They're an independent grand daimyo under Lord Yoshiharu Goku. Boea Columbia. Ascendant in Japan. Who knows what's next? They're allied with the Hive. They're allied with Vietnam. They could take on Paragonea. Paragonea! I've broken their tributary agreement with the Celestial Entente. They're going down. They're gonna die. Probably. What is this? Legofia? Legofia have declared war against Kazimov. It's a conquest of Tambov, and that's against Kildare as well. But Legofia have brought with them. They've brought them to Tver. Ustshils, I think that's... I'm not going to pronounce those because those are just Tver's vassals. But yeah, bringing Tver into any war is almost like limitless Russian manpower. And here's the thing as well. What I'll do... No, I won't do it just yet. But you can take my word for it that Tver is all Streltsy infantry. They're a special type of infantry specific to Russian countries. And they are very, very good. I think they do... Is it do more fire damage? It's probably not that useful in the 16th century, but they'll be amazing. Yep, Legofia have taken more land as well. So Legofia putting their Prussian monarchy under the new Duke Sabas Judar to work. So they're sharing a dynasty of Heilig Malches and probably doing a little bit better with it, in all honesty. What are Varmsund up to just now? They're only fighting against Batnakia in the defense of Malta, but they've lost Malta. It's not looking too good for them. Tributaries piecing out with various people. They want Parma particularly. Good. That will neaten up their borders a little bit. So, this is peace over here. Ciara still exists. and Hispania spreading down the Brazilian coast towards El Hus. Oh, can we just skip forward a century to where, you know, Hispania have just deleted all these guys and I don't have to pronounce any vaguely difficult. Jabaraland have just, in the last 4 years, they've taken a huge chunk of the Congo. They've actually reached the West African coast as well, although they are losing that coast to rebels at the moment. The Mexican nations are huge. They are. This can happen when you generate random custom nations. Remember last time out we had a huge Colombia right there. Jabaraland ideas, they've taken exploration, I can tell you that for free. Religious and exploration, a perfect combo. They can just crusade their way through anyone until they get to Slavers Bay, of course. Slavers Bay, same religion as them. But they can crusade their way through the entirety of Africa. Pretty much. Incidentally, Chagoris, of course. Oh, Australia Major, I don't think they've taken exploration ideas. They just have, naturally, as you can see, experienced settlers. If your quality on Twitch is high enough, you can see experienced settlers. Colonists +1 is the latest national idea they've unlocked. They're going for Taiwan. Chagoris themselves do have exploration ideas. They do have colonists. Are they colonizing anything? Could they be colonizing anything? They could be colonizing pretty much anything in here, I think. But they are not just as of yet. What a tally-ho stupid ideas. Tally-ho are taking diplomatic, quantity, and administrative. That's fair enough, honestly. I don't think they have just yet. There's an easy way to tell if they're colonizing or not, and that's to jump in as their country. But I don't want to do that just in case it resets AI routines, which is something I've read about like once. How's the music doing, guys? Is it... Oh, no. What has happened here? Well, we know what's happened here, but Kildare. It's not going well for them. Is the music too overpowering at all? Because I'm feeling like it's overpowering me a little bit. So Malta now belongs to Batnakia. And Varmsund now... Oh, no. How has this happened? Who allowed this to happen? There's been a breach. There's been a breach, I think, perhaps... Oh, there'll always be Bornholm, it's fine. There's been a breach, and it is Hansa Reich, the first to besiege Shealand. Ignore Sternberg leading the siege, ignore them. But I think, yeah, Hansa Reich have just built up an impressive fleet, and it's the gradual loss of all this development down here for Varmsund, over and around here, and Hansa Reich finally got a big enough navy to break through. So the New Near Empire, honestly, they've gotten off. They've gotten away with this a bit. They've lost 3 provinces, an incredibly ugly dagger into the heart of Ireland there for King's County, and then the West March and East March. They could have and probably should have lost more there. Epiphany are at war against Metz, Switzerland, and Picardy. Is that... where's Metz? Which one is Metz? That one's Metz, but they could be taking out Picardy as well, if they want to deal with the aggressive expansion, of course. Always worth a quick double check of the religious map wherever we go. Because obviously it's all coming up Catholic right now, but soonish should be the start of the Reformation. Did nobody tell me to save the game in 1525? I can't believe it. Not to the main menu. What I'm going to quickly do is load up the autosave for the 1st of January. And quickly make a save game at 1525. Genuinely, on my notes, I can quickly tell you, I can quickly show you while I'm doing this actually. This is what my second monitor looks like right now. And you can see right at the top of my notes it says save game 1525. What am I doing? I'm saving under this format, 1525. We lose like a good 2-3 minutes every time. The saving games. Anyway, we're going to load up the latest. 10th of July. We're not really losing those 7 months. We're jumping back. And we are back. What on earth is this view? Is this just... Yeah, it does look great for Monorohan, honestly. Chigoris losing a bit to Mother Base. But anyway, let us continue. Achaemenia. This is their war. And they've picked their spot perfectly. Although they are losing the Persian Gulf Coast. One must imagine that they're going to be taking that back, though. Mother Base getting beaten back. It's not looking very good for ONG. Because Kostani got mostly beaten out of Anatolia. They just about held on to Kostani. And now Mother Base themselves getting beaten back by Achaemenia. What do they actually want here? It's a war for Mogostan. So they want kind of all this. And then they wouldn't mind everything else, I guess. This is a big power play for Achaemenia. So the Tributaries, they look suspiciously at peace, and Parma looks suspiciously alive. In fact, oh no, Parma is a vassal. That makes sense. So they vassalized Parma, and then I think they gave them Medina back. I think is what happened there. For a second, it looked like Tributaries actually managed to lose that war, but no, panic over. It's all fine. So Hansa Reich now have Lolland. Not quite Shaland yet. The fortress remains, but who's going to be first to Shaland? There are no allies there. Varmson desperately trying to appeal to the Tributaries. But it just depends on who has the first truce to fall. It's probably going to be communist Luxembourg taking Shaland. Let's be honest. This is it's a very messy step today. This, of course, isn't really the step. But Achaemenia, getting all these occupations from their allies, this is played to perfection. What is this? Hanseong, Paioti separatists. How did Glosh Nippon get up there? Who knows and who cares? You can kind of see the armies that are left on this Japanese mainland. You only have one. You have a Weeaboo army up defending Kyoto, and then you have two tiny armies for Glorious Nippon and Paragonea. So it kind of we're just waiting on Weeabolumbia, especially for that truce to run out. But when are they going to strike? They're going to want all of Japan. They're going to want. How do they still have a province in China? Of all, did they even start with that province? They had to have. But Tally-ho still alive, still kicking, allied to Gyan Lane. Now bordered with Punjabi prison. Gyan Lane, a real linchpin in the centre of this diplomacy. Kamanot, Tally-ho, Shambhala, and Monorohan. But that alliance with Tally-ho is going to be... It's a weak point for them. Say Nade Shah. They brought in Punjabi prison Mahastadar. They hit Tally-ho. They drag in Gyan Lane, and Gyan Lane... No allies to help them. So it's not going to be long until Kildare get knocked out of this war. Because it's not really their war, is it? This is what Ligofia want. They're going to partition Kazimov between themselves and Tver, it looks like. Taking the south for themselves and Tambov up there. Tver notably not giving up Kazimov itself. Monorohan are still pretty well connected as it stands right now. A direct hit on them probably wouldn't end well. But you have to expect the Hive will be looking out. They've got some... The Hive are good by themselves. And they'll be looking to hit Monorohan, especially when they're down, especially if their allies are otherwise engaged in war and might not come to their aid. The Hive are paying some of their armies. They could be... If I was the Hive, I would desperately looking to hit Monorohan. Gorov Desh beset by noble rebels. Nobody cares about noble rebels. Age of Discovery ending in 1 to 1 months. Does that... What is this all about? It means the Reformation is underway. And it is underway in Brittany. Interesting. Because this means that Epiphany are all but guaranteed to turn Protestant. With this Protestant Centre of Reformation on their borders. We can see Protestant Epiphany. It's not going to spread to London and over here because this is already... I say already as if that would make any difference. But Sunnis aren't going to be converted to Protestantism. It definitely took much longer last season because there were fewer Catholics. But this is... Look at that massive Catholicism. Again, look at this list of enemies for Nicosonia. And I saw their troops. I don't know where I saw them, but it was where they weren't supposed to be. I swear I saw them in Siberia. Like, fighting off occupations for Chigoris. Is anyone dealing with... Look, what is even going on here? To be fair, that's only Monorohan troops, which is to be expected up there. There's the Punjabi prison running away to Siberia. But Achaemenia, have they knocked out anyone yet? They've still not knocked out Ganja. And they're going to lose this fort to this free K unless they do something about it. They should have knocked out Ganja first. Then knocked out Monorohan. Legofia at peace, and they didn't give anything to Tver, which is a decision I can support for obvious reasons. Because Tver gaining in power, they've taken a big chunk out of Kildare, and they didn't take all of Kazimov down here, leaving some for later. And Kazimov separatists are already running rampant. And with this Prussian monarchy, the increased tradition, that's a 3-star general, that's a 6400. Not that good right now, but pretty great later in the game. And if they're getting 3-star generals in 1528, Legofia are going to be a fearsome force in times to come. Kildaren particularists, peasants. Have they hit some kind of disaster? We could jump in and see. But I especially don't want to mess up a response to rebellions. So nobody else has gone Protestant yet. We see Artolia. They haven't moved. No change in Artolia. We see Heilig Mulches struggling, I think. What did they have before? They had that. That might have been all they had. They might have had Nets, and then they took a lot of this from Königsberg. But they are just an ugly, cross of a nation there. I mean, physically shaped like a cross. Not any very misplaced religious iconography. Legofia, Ascendant, Monorohan, not so much, but that is peace declared. Peace declared just all in all. And Achaemenia have knocked out Mother Base from the other side of the Persian Gulf. They've gone all the way to Hormuz, which is fantastic. Hormuz, a centre of trade and gems at that as well. So what is Achaemenia's... It's going to be Persia. So Hormuz doesn't connect directly to Persia, but it does to Basra. And they'll be pulling all that trade into Persia and becoming very rich off the back of it. Tributaries truce with Batnakia, I expect is done. Yep, it's all done. Did Monorohan lose territory? Well, they certainly have, because if we remember, Monorohan famously shaped like a brick, coloured like a brick. That's the entire point of the joke about them being just another brick in the steppes. And they've been chipped. 6 development. Yeah, definitely 6 development, because that is Tabaristan and that is definitely Achaemenias. New Nero Empire being occupied by Nero's own peasants. 40,000 of Nero's own peasants. Hello? We have the delegation in the Caribbean. Or the Caribbean. Depends on how you want to pronounce it. So the delegation getting a move on. Anything going up here in Massachusetts and Rhode Island and Connecticut? Nothing in Canada as of yet. Iceland still Icelandish. I was about to say still icy, but then I realised that wouldn't have actually given any indication of their political status or not. I wonder what's about to happen here, lads. What could Slavers Bay under Maharaja Byungo Daddy be planning here? Why are their armies arrayed around Ayr? Allied only to Ondo. Which one's Ondo? Ondo of the Island Kingdom. I mean, we could sit here and watch, or we can just, you know, leave it be, check back, and those provinces will have disappeared. The Jabariland, they're gonna keep, I think they're gonna keep cleaning up to here, and there'll just be a partition of land between Slavers Bay and Jabariland. In such a way that'll annoy me that this wasteland won't be filled in. So what's next for Jabariland? You think Hispania or possibly the delegation will be colonising around here? Because, oh yeah, Hispania did take St. Helena maybe as their first colony. So you've got to think they'll be on the way to the Cape of Good Hope next. So Jabariland, potentially coming into conflict with Hispania, and that would be a pretty even fight. Is 10 military tech from the ideas that give them cheaper military tech cost to 11. That's not altogether different. Exploration and expansion ideas as opposed to religious and exploration. Pretty even. That's a fight I'd like to see. Anything going down around here? Australia Major mopping up Taiwan. This does give them a base to strike into China from. Could be interesting. Do they have designs on China? Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what I said. They want the Chinese coast they can reach from Taiwan, so that's another rival for the Celestial Entente to worry about. And indeed, enemies, rivals there. The colonies of Madagascar. These colonies are Mother Base, because Mother Base famously, at least in the one Metal Gear game I've played, Metal Gear Solid 5, they were an offshore kind of company of mercenaries. So these are their offshore bases. This is Antonose, who I think just spawned here originally. What is this? No culture, no religion. We have actual atheists there in EU4. Jabariland are making moves, actually. Jabariland are making their way across. Where can they... Would they have the colonial range after taking Kolhave? Yeah, they should have the colonial range to strike into Borneo. That's the name of that island. Into Borneo. And lest we forget, they strike into Borneo, they get the Malacca node, and they funnel all that trade into this Zanzibar node. They need to kill Sakalava next, that's what they need to do. And they get complete control of the Zanzibar node, and it's perfect. What's going on, lads? Ciara. Ciara at war again with Hispania. So who are Hispania taking on this time? Ciara, Nadir Shah, Ilyas, and Rio de Janeiro. So now it's Nadir Shah who were protecting the remnants of Ciara, trying to stop the Tally-Ho, trying to stop Caminot digging into them. But in the meantime, Gyan Lane have attacked Nadir Shah, which is good to see if you're a fan of Gyan Lane. I don't know if we've got any Gyan Lane fans in the chat. You know, whoever's rooting them on. But Gyan Lane, they needed to pull their disparate partners together into a single war. And they've mostly managed it. That's Shambhala. Oh no, Shambhala have declared the war. So it is the Shambalan conquest of Gouda, which is right there. Gyan Lane are in, and they're the ones and Caminot are in, and they're the ones actually making ground. Whereas Shambhala, not so much. Although I suppose Gouda is a fort, and once Gouda falls, the war score will start ramping up. Nadir Shah not doing too well for themselves. Though I suppose Mahasada and Punjabi Prison also win. So this is actually an all-out brawl. All of India involved apart from the Tally-Ho. It's a free-on-free battle here. Shambhala, not even... First of all, not even ruled by a militarist, and then ruled by an Erwin of all possible dynasties. Of course, this is a theocracy, it's not really a dynasty. Oh, it's breathless stuff. Big old battle going down here. The grasslands of Bidar and the defenders have been sent packing. You had a bit of Punjabi prison over there. You had Nadir Shah defending their own land. You had Shambhala's... How have Shambhala got their entire army going down there? Because there's no forts. Because there's no forts. What's happened to all the forts over here? Well, actually, I can tell you what happened. Gyan Lane have them. But no forts across this entire border. It's terrible for Nadir Shah. It means that these guys, it means Caminot and Gyan Lane and Shambhala can essentially link their army together with impunity. Achaemenia bided the time, really did well for it. Lagofia. Lagothic conquest of Abkhazia. Lagofia making their move this session up against Lakia. What do they particularly want? Is it Abkhazia? That's... there? I'd rather they took everything else before they take Abkhazia, but maybe they will. Didn't you make Caminot quite annoying to fight? So let's have a quick look at their national ideas. They've got morale. They've got attrition for enemies. Plus 1.5. That's the main thing that makes them annoying to fight that they have right now. But that doesn't really apply until their own provinces are getting sieged down. I'd encourage this 12,000 men not to be sieging down the highlands. Well, it's not really... Let's have a look at the actual terrain mode. No, there's not much jungle to be found until you get to the southeast of Caminot, so it's not really going to help them that much, especially in an aggressive war. Punjabi prison getting beaten down. And indeed, their army sent packing once again. You see, it's actually really good coordination by the attacking AI. That's coordination that we really barely see in these campaigns. But while they're coordinating in the west, Mahasada have taken land in the east. And they have taken a jungle fort, which is going to be awkward for the attackers to take back. Indeed, Nadir Shah, another fort has fallen. So Shambhala only with plus 26, because these occupations will be hurting them. The war exhaustion will be getting to them. But if we look at, say, Gyan Lane and Caminot, they're doing fine. And then we look at Punjabi prison. Massive losses. Nadir Shah. Of course, Nadir Shah are trying to defend against Hispania. How did Australia avoid this one? Because they're only allied now with Mahasada. This happens to the music every single time, and I'm puzzled every single time that there's just a big break in some of this music. So Lagofia, they did take everything. They now control the Caucasus wasteland. the Caucasus Mountains and the Gothia make for, you know, a pretty nice site, honestly. Now what they need is, you know, Kiev, Chernigov, Severia, Kursk, and just fill in that gap they've got there, and they'll be looking quite good. That's a pretty straight border. So what's going on over here? So Yarnum have gone to war against Sternberg. Sternberg is this province right here, and that has brought in Strobing and Hansereich. But unfortunately for the defenders, Yarnum have brought with them Switzerland and the delegation. Switzerland, not so much the force they may have been, but the delegation doing quite well for themselves. And this is a war that Hansereich are quite likely to lose. Hansereich now the Emperor of Holy Rome, although I do note that Gorovdish have 2 votes. I note that Hispania have Switzerland's vote, which is not what we like to see. RIP Varmsund, it's not looking great. They still live, but where? Gotland and Cagliari they still have. My voice has completely gone again. Give me just a sec. Shout out anything you want me to be looking at while I'm trying not to die. Look at this power play. This is how you do a naval invasion. You get your entire army, you sit it on one province, you take attrition, sure, but you need that landing point. I wouldn't have done it on a level 3 fort, but they've taken a level 3 fort. They're not going to lose that fort quickly. Look at this. Actual Islamic invaders from beyond the sea pouring into Western Europe. And I am overjoyed to see it. That is properly impressive. And this comes in the middle. You know what? I've only just realized that this is like semi-saving my country. But I am just genuinely quite pleased to see. Boom. This is a war against Picardy. I don't think the delegation will lose much from this war if they lose it. So what's happening over here? The Catholic zealots are taking land back from the Protestant Brittany. Oh, Calais actually turned Protestants. So that'll start turning the delegation Protestants. So it's a very North and West Reformation we have going here, and Epiphany are doomed. Epiphany are certainly going Protestant. Perhaps even under King Bernard Epiphanus. Where are their armies? They're spreading out and sieging. This is almost perfect tactics. They've got siege blocks going. They need 1,000 more. Do they have like? They have artillery on each siege. They need 1,000 more men on that siege to keep it going. But like the delegation's armies, they're up here. This is actually perfect tactics. And if they see, whoa, that's a massive fleet, but that is Hansereich and the Tolerant Left fleets all together. And still barely blockading this down. What happens if Sunnis try to convert the Protestant centre? Well, that centre of Reformation would disappear. I would say it's -5 to missionary chance to convert a centre of Reformation. Like, what they could do if the Tolerant Left really want to stamp out Protestantism rather than take the land, they could force convert Picardy, and that would get rid of it as well. So Berlin has fallen for Hansereich. Hamburg are looking to follow swiftly. Although, here's the thing, Hansereich do have a decent-sized army. If they just smashed it into the Swiss and the delegation there, the delegation would be screwed, because they're not rebuilding armies out of this. The Catholic rebels beaten back by Brittany. The New Nero Empire still have that Epiphany alliance? They do. But at some point, Epiphany... You have to wonder if Epiphany will just say, right, we're allied to Gorovdesh. Who are these guys? Can we not get better allies? The Gorovdesh landed in Gotland, so I imagine, yeah, it's not... Oh, they've even taken the Baleares. So Gotland is the last refuge of Wormsund. So Den Haag is fallen. Utrecht is falling. As is Antwerp. Antwerp, the capital. It's all going down. Gonna be too little too late for Hansareich. Who is in command of this war? Unfortunately, it's Yarnum. So Yarnum are going to take Sternberg, and they're probably going to take a big chunk of Hansareich as well. But this is a really interesting one to me. Surely Nero will counter here. Of course he won't. It's a Scottish nation. Besides, there's a truce still. I'm not accepting any more Scottish countries into these games. Yeah, here's the thing. The Tolerant Left have not declared a single offensive war, I think, until now. This is their first offensive war, and they've grown substantially. The tributary, hello. So Artolia at war. Big old German wars. So Artolia, with the ally of Heilig Malches, have been declared on by Rhein-Neckar and the tributaries. And I think their other allies might have cancelled on them. Or did they even have other allies? The delegation rejected the... No, the delegation didn't accept. So Rhein-Neckar, seeing that the delegation were getting screwed over there. Indeed, the delegation, they're out of this war. They got knocked out. Completely knocked out of the war. And Calais now belongs to the Tolerant Left. They have made a landing. I've become a fan of the Tolerant Left, I have to say. Oh, imagine completely capitulating to the Tolerant Left and still abandoning your ally in Artolia. The tributaries, Luxembourg and Parma, coming along for the ride as well. And only Heilig Malches and Groningen on the other side. Speaking of Tver, we kind of have to start keeping up with Tver now. Our Tver are at war with Chigoris, so we do actually have to keep up with them. So they are going after Solikamsk, this little strip, the demilitarized zone between themselves and Chigoris. And Tver bring in, it's a one-on-one war. It's just these guys and vassals, these guys and vassals. Not looking too good for Hansareich. Hispania still at war with Ceará, because they've got their entire army over here and have invaded their homeland. What is this? Deshan Separatists. Are we going to see Desh? A new country over here. We're going to see Deshan Separatists, so it's going to be very interesting. What was the war over here in Nadeshar? They've certainly lost stuff. Shambhala, have they gotten this back over here? There's been such an exchange of corps between Mahasada and Shambhala, which really doesn't help. So, look at the revolutions going on in the Celestial Entente. Look at this lack of mandate, and I'll show you why this is happening. Minus 27 on mandate, and that gives them plus 5 national unrest. They can't hire mercenaries. Minus 50% to goods produced, and plus 50% to damage received by every single unit they have. They only have 2 tributaries, and it's not looking great for them. Kaminots also sneaked their way into Nadeshar, who look to be the big loser of this situation. Punjabi prison kind of just maintaining their territorial integrity just by virtue of nobody wanting their land, I think is what's happening here. Achaemenia, what is that? That is Ganja, who are now at truce with a Majeerteen. What Majeerteen doing? What's the point? What Jabbarland doing? Oh, look, Aragon. Who could... Aragon? That's up here. Who could have seen this coming? But Jabbarland, they're paying their armies. They're in the northeast, although they are disappointingly moving them back. I want to see them take on Majeerteen before Mother Base do. So Artolia getting... Oh, stomped. And Solar's in the east getting beaten back. But Solar's in the west. The Archbishopric slicing their way into Artolia. What do they want? What will they even get? This is... So, bear in mind, now, this is an actual proper inter-Holy Roman Empire war. Or intra. Whatever I actually meant to say. Oh, no. Hansareich. Yharnam looking a bit cooler, honestly. Yharnam looking like a force to be reckoned with. Hansareich looking... No, still not great, actually, are they? Worth noting for Gorovdish. Gorov? Oh, hello! Right, so Epiphany have declared a crusade against the tolerant left. Oh, no. Oh, why? Oh, no. Epiphany have declared war against the tolerant left. They've brought in their allies. They've brought in Gorovdish. They've brought in the New Nero Empire. They've left the New Nero Empire alone against the tolerant left and all their armies. This means... Oh, this is a crusade. And what I've just realised... Let's have a quick look at this. A crusade, we'll have a look. War goal is winning battles. Oh, hello. We have just witnessed a miracle. We've witnessed the New Nero Empire winning a battle and quite cleverly running the hell away. The other tolerant left army was unwilling to leave the siege of Lothian. As well they should. Oh, what's going on now? Hansareich. Hold on, how has this happened? Heilig Malchus, how did Hansareich get in on this? Well, Hansareich always on this, and Hansareich are just somehow managed to lose alone against Heilig Malchus? Who knew? What's left for... What's left? What's left? What's next for Communist Luxembourg? Because there's no more... Wormsund land to take. I imagine they do want Gotland, but it's not a priority for them. So they do want to go for Hansareich, but they're not rivaled with them. So it looks kind of like the next flashpoint is going to be them versus Tver. Which I imagine will be especially disappointing to Trev, having had one nation already essentially knocked out by Communist Luxembourg. We're going for two. How have Ciara... Ciara have troops over here. Have they lost... Right, so Ciara have lost their entire Brazilian holdings. So Ciara are now completely... They've reformed as well, have they? They're now just a feudal monarchy in... And they're up to date... Well, they're not up to date on tech, but they've gotten up to date on tech. They're allied with Nade Shah, which is a horrendous idea for Nade Shah, but no, that's their only ally, actually. They've lost the rest in war. What's this happy, uplifting synthwave we've got in the background? What's happy about this? This is destruction. On a grand scale. What the New Nero Empire need to do is they need to hide their army. Honestly, I don't know how I'd game the system. What's important to them is that they don't lose battles. And they might, you know, stay out of this war by virtue of not capitulating to the tolerant left. Well, what's the war score against them? It's minus 82. Oh, they might as well keep their army, honestly. The new Near Empire completely screwed over by Epiphany this time round, because Epiphany making no attempt to have their armies cross, although they probably wouldn't manage it, honestly. Garavdesh still with an army on Gotland as well. Do you think Hunterreich are going to get any land out of this? I hope so. But I can't see it happening. Speaking of Australia, how are we doing in colonization over here? We have a completely Australian Taiwan. My geography was really off there, because I scrolled up like that. I saw that, and it was like, is that the tip of Alaska belonging to Chigoris? No, it's just Chigoris' actual land. We could zoom in here. Nothing really colonial looking about this. Oh, look at this. Hispanian Brazil is already resplendent. They've taken out Ilheus as well. Yeah, with Hispania focusing on South America, Teshuva, who we haven't really focused on thus far today, really nothing doing with them at all. Nicholsonia have been caught up in war as well. They've got a truce with Batnakia, and I'm wondering how that came about. Were they allies and then got called into each other's wars and rejected it? Or were they at war and nothing really happened because the landing at Kille notwithstanding, we can't really do naval battles in EU, or naval landings in EU4? Magnate rebels. How has this happened? Aren't Magnate rebels the rebels that Poland gets for that can get rid of their elective monarchy or something like that? Chigoris not going especially well against Tver. It's worth noting that obviously Chigoris, a huge country, Tver not so much. We can look at this and we can see they're very... No, Tver have fallen down a bit. But development-wise, they're going to be very similar. Which is actually to Tver's advantage, which means they can kind of hold land a bit better. That is the Communist Luxembourg army. Fully paid. And on the border of Tver, we have peace over here. I think Tver won this war. They took a little chunk of Solikamsk. I wasn't struggling to read their name. I just couldn't see their name. Look at me defending myself as if I can actually read. Paris is going Protestant. Actually, what is this? The city of Waldstadt is going Protestant as well. Now, the city of Waldstadt is one of the tributaries trade cities. They're still a merchant republic. If you look at who's in their trade league, they're receiving power from the city of Bari, the city of Waldstadt, the city of Pisa. Which mean this is all land that belong to them, but you got Bari down here, Pisa in here. They're all still part of the trade league. They all contribute these 7k, these 8k troops. We are now fully ensconced in the age of Reformation. And as we can see, the animists have been knocked out. The Orthodox Aporia we've not looked at today. And Aporia, I think for them, have had a thankfully quiet a quiet session. It's not looking great for the new Nero Empire. And they're certainly not going to get enough war score to take Calais. Because there's no ticking war score here. And indeed, the Tolerant Left have nearly won enough battles to get ticking war score in their favour. Printing press in 13 years. It always pops up from 1550 onwards. So, interesting thing. What I would do is I would hide the Tolerant Left. I would hide... Oh, there we go. That's almost exactly what I was about to say, because that's a naval battle that they've won. And they're going to get a ticking war score from this, and they're going to win this war, thanks to that one naval battle. What do Rhein-Neckar want? Because They have 77 war score. How much are they realistically going to be able to take from Anatolia within the Holy Roman Empire? To be fair, it's Jewish land, so the aggressive expansion is going to be drastically reduced. How is Sternberg Protestants? How have they managed that? Did Garavdish always have this? I think they did. Oh no, they did, because they were like that and not like that. I'm thinking of Versailles. So here's the thing as well. Without naval superiority, the Torrent left. Despite losing Calais, they'll be taking war exhaustion from the occupation of Calais. But Epiphany will be getting war exhaustion for these very well developed ports being blockaded by the superior navy. And look at this, ticking war score. That'll go up to 25. So they'll get 20 war score from this. What can you do with 20 war score? You can annul alliances. You can... Oh, no. I suppose in a way I'm pleased for Hansareich for their 5 development. I am actually pleased for Rhine-Neckar, who are actually doing something. But Anatolia, it's not great. I've seen better. And that's actually a lifeline there between Hansareich and Rhine-Neckar, which is vital for the AI to actually funnel troops between them. But yeah, this looks like the real Holy Roman Empire, and nobody actually wants that. Everyone backing Hansareich now, which is what I like to see. Tributaries with exiled troops, they have just signed a peace with... Oh yeah, they were in this war, weren't they? I'm an idiot. Athens we've not seen much of today, because they're not doing much. King Theodoros Bronco, Cagliari, Communist Luxembourg, Tributaries, Nicosodia. So Liguria, really the ascendant Jewish power, allied with the Orthodox and 2 nearby Jewish nations. Rhine-Neckar, that's actually really good for them, because what they took particularly was Frankfurt, 20 development, paper, which I think, does paper get... We've maybe seen already the price increase for paper, but that's really good. And it's a centre of trade for whatever node this is. And they're going to be dominating it now. The Rhineland node, they got 35% of it. That's going to cut off trade going into Champagne and ultimately to the end nodes of Genoa and the English Channel. So that one war, actually, in one fell swoop, demolishes an ally, gets them a load of German land, which will be similar culture. It's going to make these guys poorer. A brilliant war. Did Kazimov What? How have they managed this? Printing press, surely. Or what, for increasing the price of paper as a good? Perhaps. Going to spawn on them? Nah. So, the way the printing press spawn works, I know this off by heart, I'm not going to jump in and show you. It's all to do with region. Well, not really all to do with region, but it can spawn within South Germany and North Germany, which you'll know isn't really just the Germanys. Or it can spawn in a Protestant province in Europe, I think. Monorohan forced to return cause? Maybe. But they've been at peace for quite some time. They've had truces for quite some time. So it's actually looking really good. The 2 ascendant countries in Germany are the Archbishopric of Rhine-Neckar and the Archbishopric of Yarnum. The ascendant in Italy is the serene merchant republic of the Tributaries. I would have said they are all weak governments. I would have said the strong government, Liguria over there. To be fair, Liguria are doing really well for themselves. Despite the weakness of their ideas, they're really using the Prussian monarchy well. Let's have a quick look at institutions and tech. So colonialism expanding down South America. But with Ceará completely taken out of Brazil, that means we're not going to get a cheaty spread into India. Yeah, colonialism going as one would expect. Renaissance spreading really quickly. Because, I mean, remember, even it was like 150 years later, down here we hadn't had Renaissance. We've got Renaissance well entrenched just now, thanks to knowledge sharing with Chigoris, with the Hive. I think it was shared with the Hive anyway. It was certainly shared with Achaemenia, and I think it came across here. What are Lagothia's ideas anyway? I don't think they're all too impressive. Administrative, offensive, espionage. There's nobody with really impressive ideas, I've found. This war still... Oh, hello! This war is still going on, and... they've taken Calais back. I'm well chuffed with this. An actual successful landing. 20... Here's the thing. Picardy separatists don't even matter. Although, here's the thing. They're going to have to deal with combined Garovdish and Epiphany armies. This could be a bad move. They do not want to get on that transport. That's a horrendous move if they remove that army. Because these armies will just come together, smash them. Especially on a fort. Although, if what they're doing is just going down to Cannes, that's still a bad idea. Oh, they've left... Why have they left them isolated like this? What are they doing? What are Epiphany doing? How are the Tolerant left losing this, though? Epiphany know what they're doing. Oh, the Tolerant left have thrown it away. I can't believe they've done this. They're going to lose that army as well. And that's going to be major losses. And that's nearly equalised the war score. That dodge out to Cannes was just horrendous. Horrendous decision making. Here's Garovdish, not looking too fussed about Epiphany's fight for survival there. They've got one army up there, but the rest is just staying down there. They finally got their army out of Gotland as well. Here we go. This is what I like to see. Although it's defending Communist Luxembourg against Tver. So what's happening is that Tver have attacked Livland. Are they a protectorate? They're guaranteed by Heilig Malchus, but they're an ally at Osterode. So it's Tver. Heilig Malchus aren't in this war. Did they reject the call to arms? And Aporia, Lagofia in this war? Tver are running rampant. That's quite a... Osterode as well. I keep forgetting Osterode are now essentially... Oh, whoa, Jesus. I say essentially Prussia. And here come Lagofia to show them who Prussia really are. Königsberg going back to the Russians, I think. To the Tolerant left, they will be able to funnel troops through. And they may be able to get a siege off quicker than... Yeah, they'll win the siege of Cannes before they win the siege of Calais. But they need to not do stupid things. Like split up their armies and get them beaten. Rebels fighting themselves. The peasants versus the nobles over in the New Nero Empire. Who's even going to win this? I'm interested now. The peasants win. Hurrah! I think Epiphany's navy has been essentially decimated. And the army caught out. I think what the Tolerant left have going for them is numbers. And Epiphany have relative quality. No, Epiphany have everything. Military Tech 10. Military Tech 10. How are they Diplo Tech 12 but only Military Tech 10? Religious and offensive ideas. Quantity ideas. But morale of armies. It's only really morale of armies they have. Actually, the Tolerant left have nothing. They don't have good armies at all. Whereas Epiphany, they will. Better morale, better infantry combat, more force limit. Offensive ideas. They should be dominating this war. And this, of course, pins down Garabdesh into a war they perhaps don't want to take. Although they do have exploration ideas. Have they made landing anywhere? Who's this down here? Is that going to be... That's Hispania. The delegation at West Indies. Incidentally, of course, what we can do, we can go in and change these names. Hispania and Brazil, for example. That's alright. Delegation West Indies, we'll probably change that because that doesn't run as well. Achaemenia back at war. They have attacked Sharazor, and that's brought in Bazar, Barjan, Koi, and Aydin. That's going to be quite... That's a lot of meat. Yeah, that's ambitious. And they've already brought in Punjabi prison. We have neglected India for quite some time, but it doesn't look like much has happened over here. But Punjabi prison. Where are the troops? Well, Burjand. Is it a war against Burjand? No, it's against Sharazor. They need to lock Burjand out. Burjand out of this war as soon as they can. So, the allies over here concentrating on Lagofia, and it looks to be working really well for them. Oh, Yarnum have picked their spot. They've declared war against Heilig Mulches and Osterode. Yarnum, Kildare, Switzerland, the delegation West Indies and Curonia. Heilig Mulches going down. And as the Reformation picks up pace, I think we're seeing a split in Christianity. And we're seeing the Jewish faith rather diminished in Europe. I saw a 42k Swiss stack and utterly just panicked. But it's just, 5,000 Swiss and however many Yarnish. The Tolerant left nearly winning back on these battles. In any case, it's more than likely going to be a white piece over here. Because as you can see, they just don't have the numbers. Now here's the thing as well with the Tolerant left. This retreat is going to end up in a stack wipe. Because there's nowhere to retreat to. And that's going to be a big victory for Epiphany. And that's going to reflect they're now winning on battles. So if the Tolerant left keep doing this, then they'll be in trouble. Here's a question. So we've got Kildare separatists, kind of where they should be, in Kildare. So what happens if the Kildare separatists establish an independent Kildare? But we've already got a Kildare. Would it just become... You know what? We'll wait and see. I know what I'm hoping for. So, Liveland knocked out of some war or another, or who was knocked out there? Osterode knocked out of the war. And Lagofia knocked out of the war. So it's just Tver versus Liveland and Communist Luxembourg. Aporia still on the other side. Heilig Mulches. Yeah, they're dead. They're pretty much dead. Hansareich. What are Hansareich doing? If the answer isn't jumping on a dead Osterode, then I'm disappointed in my own country. Did Varmsund find any friends? Nope. They don't really have the power now to find friends. A losing war for Tver? No, I don't think so. I don't think it's going to happen. So when you look at Communist Luxembourg, they're making inroads into there, inroads into Liveland. What kind of a war is it? It's the conquest of Neva, so Neva's here. And so long as they keep that, and it looks like they're gonna win this war. In fact, I don't see any other armies in Liveland apart from the attackers, because you got Aporia here. They have a siege-ish general, and they have cannons to take down Riga. The same cannot be said for Tver, who have no cavalry, no artillery, no cavalry, no artillery, like 1 unit of cavalry. Where are Communist Luxembourg? They've got an army there. Not really helping them. The Achaemenia, this is the awkward one. So Berjand have been knocked out of the war. So we should have Punjabi Prison coming across to the west to help out Achaemenia. But meanwhile in India, tis war, tis war. The Tally Ho have attacked Nadeshir. And they have brought... Oh, the Tally... Is this a one-on-one between the Tally Ho and Nadeshir? That's ballsy. It's definitely the Tally Ho. They've attacked Nadeshir. Who do they think they are? They think they're someone with full quantity ideas is what they think they are. With no land attrition, with... Tally Ho should actually have a massive army despite their size. Because they're like plus 80%? I mean, it's not going to help them win battles. Because they've got an utter trash army. But if they can keep reinforcements pouring in... And I'll note that they didn't... But this is horrendous news for Nadeshir. Tally Ho were the one country that they had a truce with. You can see the rest are going to be up in 1543, 1545. If they're still fighting the Tally Ho. The Tally Ho! Somehow winning. But it's terrible news for Nadeshir. I'll tell you what, we've not really looked at the Celestial Entente today, and to be fair to them, despite all these rebels, despite their lack of mandate that's getting worse, they are cleaning the place up. Was that name Dada Weatherspoon? No, it wasn't. It was Dada Weatherspoons. And I'd thank you to get the name right. Way of Columbia consolidating somewhat. Glorious separatists in Kyoto. The Hive attacking Nanyang. We've not seen much of the Hive. They have made some inroads into China. Oh, they do have Beijing as well. Interesting. The Peyote Khanate. Hanseong nearly secured all of Korea. The Peyote Khanate have lost quite a bit of land to them, but they've resecured this, I guess. Hispania dominating the colonies over here. Slavers Bay. I thought there was a gap here. I thought there was always a gap here, but maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, Slavers Bay. Who's next for Slavers Bay? Because there's certainly a gap here between them and Tsushima and them and Hispania. Jabarland, did they go to war with Majeerteen? Certainly not within the past 5 years, at least. Kildare were at war. They were in the war that killed off Heilig Maltjes and Oosterhout. And Yarnum completely in the ascendancy. Heilig Maltjes not doing too well for themselves. So the Tolerant left. For all their misadventures, they did lose that war and they did lose Calais. Which is unfortunate, honestly. They could have just sat back. They literally could have just sat back and won that war. Or at least gotten a white peace. But no. They attacked and they died in their thousands. And they lost the war. Chigoris maintaining their alliances. Not really doing much of note. Tver are at peace. They've taken Kulm. They've taken Neva. And they took White Karelia from Communist Luxembourg. Is Nero losing Ireland to peasants? Yes, but there's a reason for that. He can't get across them. Indeed, these pretender rebels, twice the size of his actual army. What's doing with Hispania? Hispania now allied to the delegation. An interesting one. Oh, they're not allied with Valencia anymore. And indeed, Gorovdesh have attacked Genoa. Have they attacked Genoa? Pisa have attacked Genoa. So Pisa. How have we got Pisa and also the city of Pisa? I can tell you why. Hold on. I didn't see that. Why has this happened? Who did this? Epiphany did. Here's the thing. Epiphany, still allied to the New Nero Empire. Still allied to the New Nero Empire. They have ruined the New Nero Empire through their alliance. They've never given the New Nero Empire, a single province. I've just knocked my water off my desk. I'm so perplexed. I just put it back on my desk upside down and splattered water everywhere. But yet they've given the Isle of Man back to Varmsund. You know what? I'm going to go look at Japan. It's a far more sensible place than France and Britain. So Nade Shire, it's not gone well for the Tally-Ho. They were brave, they were bold, they were ballsy. And they were wrong, honestly. Because the Tally-Ho, they are allied to Gyan Lane. And indeed, you can see Gyan Lane's armies getting ready. But they can't be invited in until the February of next year. Who's even protecting Shire? They're a tributary of Nade Shire? Oh no! Nade Shire took none of that land for themselves and made Ciara a much bigger country again. Of course, they're a tributary to Ciara, so they're going to be paying them 18 gold a year. And all this is done. Tally-Ho just needed to wait. If they'd waited until February 1545, then they'd have been able to declare war with Gyan Lane. Desh on the map. So I imagine Kaminots should be gunning for them, eating them up. I mean, in all honesty, I'm just waiting until we reach the actual conclusion of this game, which is EU4, and indeed the world was a mistake. Ah, there's a Rin taking back Kazimov. There's still Lagofia and Aporia. I think that's a hefty block. Who else are Aporia allied to? Well, Hansareich are a problem. If I was Aporia, I would first of all absolutely drop that guarantee of Zagreb before the tributaries come knocking. Or even Athens. I would cling on to that fair alliance with all my might. See, look, this is the balance of power. Hansareich are trying to keep Aporia, rather than the other way around now. Last session it was the other way around, but Hansareich have been forced back. They're essentially a slightly bigger Denmark without the best bits of Denmark. Australia's recent war, I don't think they've gone to war this session, apart from the one they declared peace with earlier. It kind of looked like they were, but it was just a little bit of argy-bargy down here. That is a very impressive army, to be fair. Just saw an army land on Gotland. So this is the Luxem conquest of Gotland. And what Epiphany might have done here is they might have given the Isle of Man back to Wormsund and kept them alive when they otherwise would have died here. Australia in Borneo. It is indeed. That's Tidor down there, but that is Banjar belonging to Australia Major. We have a new Emperor of Holy Rome. That is Alois. Alois de what? Alois von Kamichi. Sure. The rightful Emperor of all of Europe. Lads, how has this happened? I thought Garavdesh were this fearsome country. And look at how much land they managed to lose control of. It's like they're not going to lose this war. But I feel like they're not taking things seriously. Have Athens done anything this session? Well, they're buttering up. Arsox's nations are buttering up each other. They're allied with one another, allied to the tributaries Communist Luxembourg. They're allied to Osterode now, which surprises me. Wouldn't they have gotten drawn into a war earlier on? Who knows? I'm kind of surprised at this. Well, we can see why Hispania aren't in this war, and that's because their truce is nearly up. Valencia were allied to Hispania for the longest time. And it was a bit puzzling because what did they really bring to the table for Hispania? Who have now replaced them with the delegation as an alliance. Probably a lot more helpful. A lot more prone to getting them into trouble, honestly. But King Noé Revanche, he said, time's up. We want this for ourselves, I bet. Yeah, there we go. That's exactly what he wants. He's not even a militarist. He's a balanced leader. A 2-4-3, almost exactly average. And he wants all of Valencia for himself. Excuse me, once more. Imagine being the tally ho and looking at this now. I mean, of course this was what was going to happen. To be fair, Mahasadara in this one. Punjabi prison have given it up. But that is just a freeway beatdown on Nader Shah. That's the thing. If your truces become staggered, as in, say, Shambhala. I bet it's Shambhala who've declared the war as well. Yeah, it's the second Shambalan conquest of the Bengal Delta. If the truces were staggered, then this would be fine. They wouldn't be able to call everyone into the one war. It might just be Shambhala and one of these guys against Nader Shah and Masadar. But because it was like, because the truces all ran out at once, everyone's just going to pile on Nader Shah. And indeed, this is probably bad for Shambhala because Gyan Lane are probably going to pile in and prevent them taking all this land. What am I doing? So there aren't any cores left for the tally-ho, because when you do the Mayan reform, I think you lose your cores. So this is looking a whole lot neater. So Pisa now have this little strip of northwest Italy, apart from, of course, the city of Pisa. Hello, the Celestial Entente are doing a decent approximation of, you know, building up a Chinese country. But while they still have the mandate, They're almost functionally useless as a nation. Meanwhile, the Shogun, the 664, Iemitsu Santada Senpai, 18 years old, the charismatic negotiator, smashing it. So what happens here if Glorious Nippon lose out? They could lose nearly everything here, could Glorious Nippon. Certainly I'd expect them to take the rest of Kyoto. And Paragonea, no allies up for grabs. I think we're seeing our winner here in Japan. And we are Colombia. The Shogun. So, was this ever? I don't know. Was Friesland delegations land? I don't know. There's a way to check out, but we're not doing it just now. I think most countries kind of just sitting back, dealing with separatists. Oh. Oh. So the delegation. Oof. They've gone big. They've gone big, and I don't think I can support this. Because what they've done is they've declared war on Luxembourg itself. They want Refalois back, which is this just here. It's a reconquest war. So they'll be able to take back for free, for pretty much no aggressive expansion, their cores on Barrois and Refalois. Or Refalois. But they've got to go for Epiphany to do it. Yharnam have an impressive army. They've got quantity ideas. They've got good infantry combat ability. But they don't really have much else going for them. Although the delegation themselves probably have... Is that Yarnish troops over there? Yharnam do have a notable army already over. But defensive ideas, and they've got the morale bonus there. So the delegation have very good morale. They have a big army of their own, actually. Plus 22.5% on the land force limit modifier there. But yeah, defensive ideas may well help. I mean, clearly it hasn't helped enough, given that the army is running away. But if they can get the Yharnam army back, there are a lot of forts here to be chewed through. So all the attackers need to do is pick their spot. And their spot is probably going to be Antwerp, the capital. Get the Yharnam armies over, who are suffering to Heilig separatists right now. And just smash them at Antwerp. Gorovde's trying to appeal to Hansareich. I don't know why they'd be doing that. So, Gotland now belongs to communist Luxembourg, but the capital of Wormsund, famously, has always been the Isle of Man. So Wormsund, they literally could not have less development. Artolia now protected, guaranteed by Yharnam. They have no allies. But so long as Yharnam keep up that declaration, that guarantee of independence, they'll be doing alright. I can't imagine that guarantee lasting for long, though. I mean, Hispania and Gorovdesh, I expect them to eventually break their alliance. But have a look at it, they only border on one province. Gorovdesh don't want to go into Spain. Hispania maybe want to go into a little bit of France, but they're mostly focused on Spain and indeed all of Brazil, all of South America. So we slowed down a little bit. Printing press in 1550. Nowadays, sure, dead. But here's the thing. Gyanlane have all the occupations apart from Chanda. Bidar down here. Of course, Mahasada in this war. And look, Gyanlane have the occupations around there as well. That's not to say that Gyanlane have been contributing the most or doing the best at fighting. They're probably the worst at fighting. But they just have the geographical proximity to more provinces, which means that Shambhala aren't going to be able to take them for themselves in a peace. What do Gyanlane even have just now anyway? Humanist, offensive, diplomatic. These are all great ideas. Just not necessarily what they need right now. Shambhala themselves. Not even he's an administrator. Not less prone towards war. I mean, you could have fooled me with your second Shambhalan conquest there. Quantity ideas doesn't surprise me. Kaminots. Offensive and trade. Trade's an interesting one. Not one I really expect to see, but obviously they'll have almost complete control of the Ceylon node. And that'll be able to pull trade out of Bengal. And if they can take Vilandu and Konosima, they'll have a foothold into the Bengal node. What is that island near Vietnam? Why is Vietnam up here? Actually, this only just occurred to me. This is Vietnam. I bet the game even recognizes it. Not quite. But you know, what Vietnam doing over here? And what island are we talking about? Oh. We're Colombia. It's kind of all worked out. China belongs to the Chinese emperor. Korea belongs to the Korean king. And Japan belongs to the shogun. It's all fine. Mother base struggling for allies now. Slavers Bay, kind of taking it slow. Slavers Bay paying subsidies to Ciara. Wait, Korea is Jewish? Some of it's Jewish. Wait. Alright, because Paraganea started off as Jewish. And I imagine Hanseong formed from the province of Jeonju, which was initially, as we can see, Paraganean. I don't know why the mouse overs don't work anymore. But let me tell you, that is the Paraganean flag on Jeonju. They have a core there. So Slavers Bay do not have a border with Hispania. I mean, it looks like they do, but this is wasteland. So they can't get to Arguin. They've got a border there, but that's wasteland. They can't get through there either. So Slavers Bay. What does Slavers Bay even want nowadays? This is the full extent of our territorial ambition. We want for nothing more than what we have. Sea borders don't count in the EU4. Well, to be fair, yeah, they could be going for Cape Verde. So the delegation in our travels have turned it around. Well, have they? Don't manage to lose. How are they losing? Because they don't have the war goal. But Picardy and co, most of the delegation, sieging down Paris. Aporia's armies are on the march. Because they've hired out their army to Cagliari. They've hired out their entire army to Cagliari. What are Cagliari doing? Cagliari are attacking. Well, they're defending against the delegation. So Aporia have hired their army out. They are now fighting Yharnam to try and kill off the delegation. Indeed, it's working for them. So, why do those two even care about each other? Why actually do they care about each other? Because they're at war with Yharnam. And they want to see Yharnam weakened. And that's why their armies are crossing over there. Interesting. So, Apulia is actually rival to Yharnam. And have Yharnam been knocked out the war? So it's just the delegation now against Luxembourg, Epiphany, Cagliari, and Brittany. And it may well have been that Apurian army who defeated that Yarnish army over there, and changed the course of this war. So Apulia, even though they haven't gotten into many wars by themselves, raided out their entire army, they screwed over Yharnam. Yharnam lost that war. Potentially going down to rebels now, having lost their army. And now Epiphany still losing this war, but they'll surely be sieging stuff back. Although I note their army is nowhere near as good as the delegations. Well, nowhere near as large as the delegations, I should say. Tributaries, they look a bit neater now to the tributaries. Did they always have all of this? I doubt it. But bear in mind as well is that they have Novara and Parma as vassals. So that there is the extent of the tributaries as well. Oh, interesting. The tributaries wanting to expand into the Genoa node. Here's the thing though, and what might work for the delegation, is that these are... In fact, they are still winning this without Yharnam. And that's the Cagliari army for itself, getting beaten back. No occupations on the delegation itself. If they can knock out Epiphany, and they're quite close. Minus 37% war score. It's doable that they can knock out Epiphany by themselves, and then be left with what? Cagliari, Brittany, Luxembourg. This is still a winnable war for the delegation. Epiphany probably wouldn't wipe peace, because the AI would see that the war goal hasn't been taken. They would see that it's sieging back their own capital, and they're about to get back their own capital. It's like, if I was the delegation, I would be paying anything to get Epiphany out. Lots of rebels going around Apulia. They're rebuilding their army. I think they lost it to the delegation. Paris is back under Epiphany control. Where is the delegation's army? Is anyone protecting Valencia now? No. I think you might soon see Hispania bringing some troops home, preparing to go to war for Valencia. Tributaries troops fully paid. Not really going much of anywhere. At Narkia, truce is running out. Printing press spawned. It may well have, but what we're going to do is I missed that it was 1550, so caught up in the war that I was. I'm going to quickly make a save out of this autosave. And we've got 10 minutes to run. The 10 minutes to go. I'm just going to let it go for those 10 minutes. I'm not going to declare a stop point or anything like that. We are back on the 12th of August. The year is 1550, and the printing press has spawned in Ulm, home of Rhein-Neckar. Not the home of Rhein-Neckar. The home of Rhein-Neckar is Heidelberg. Heidelberg, famous for its university. Ulm, famous for its slightly less good university. But at least they invented the printing press. Colonialism has barely gotten round the coasts of Europe. Printing press spreading At pace. How's the Reformation going? Genoa down here is a reform centre of Reformation. Very interesting. I don't pause for much. Maybe I think someone did point this out earlier, and I just skipped over it because, you know, obviously it's wrong. But hold on. How has this happened? Because here's your Theravada. I'm genuinely, like, most of the time when something weird happens in EU4, I have some idea of how it's happened. I genuinely have no idea how this could have possibly happened.
What exactly are you talking about?
Europe was a mistake. They're certainly not a vassal of Nadir. It's if only they were a vassal of Nadir. Achaemenia back at their old tricks. At war with a whole load of people once again. Let's have a quick look at this. So Achaemenia, quiet last session, really going for it this session. Just chipping away at the borders every so often. They've not got the Punjabi prison on this side this time. It's going to be another fight, but they're not up against Aydin this time either. Ciara going down... Oh no, not Punjabi prison. Not the Punjabi prison. Who wants to see them lose to the Punjabi prison? So Shambhala making their way into the Bengal Delta. Is there not supposed to be a centre of trade for Bengal down here? Oh no, I'm mixing it up. I'm mixing it up with Chittagong, which is the capital of Shambhala. So that'll be dominance of the Bengal trade now for Shambhala. They're still kind of maintaining their pleasant kind of dog-leg shape there, even while taking provinces from Nadir Shah and Mahasada. Mahasada... What? Did At some point, I feel like Mahasada have gone far further east than they should have. So the Celestial Entente up against the Peyote Khanates. And it is the Celestial Entente's crusade in itself. That is a very... I very nearly said a very truce there. It's a very truce here on Lagofia. They look to have picked off further parts, potentially of Rin. Yep, Rin. Kazimov's nearly gone. Nogai is the only province that remains. So Nogai's a decent province, isn't it? Free salt? Yeah, I suppose so. Unless, did they lose that? No. Then how is it Jewish? Oh, it's Jewish because Mono Rohan's Jewish as well. I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot, don't mind me. Mono Rohan warning Kazimov and Solikamsk. Allies. I mean, they've got good allies as well. They're just... Mono Rohan, they're just like sitting there, just a chipped brick in the middle of the steppes doing nothing. So this war continues. The delegation notably losing. But they're not suffering any occupations yet. They've just got such a big army that they're just still managing to beat back Epiphany. They just don't have the numbers. I think, though, in actual hilarious fashion, see this Yarnum army. I think they're trapped in the delegation. I think they're trapped. And I think the Hylic separatists are taking over their country and they've only got 11,000 troops there to deal with it. Anyone settled in the north of America? Call out if you see any familiar colours like Garovdesh. Garovdesh in Canada. The delegation still in the Caribbean. A meaty Hispania in Brazil. But the delegation have beaten them to Argentina. Jabaraland and Slavers Bay stayed somewhat static for the rest of their conquests. It's all calming down. We're all running down Slavers Bay and Bermuda. Ooh. Potentially. I think it's more likely to be Garovdesh. Yep, Garovdesh. Innovative and trade ideas for Slavers Bay. No colonialism as of yet. Trade is going to be a really important idea for Slavers Bay because they control the Ivory Coast node. They're going to be the most powerful country in it because they have most of these trade provinces. But look at how many it filters out to the Cape Good. No, it doesn't. It filters out to Brazil, the Caribbean, Bordeaux, the English Channel, Sevilla. So they need all the trade power they can to keep a hold of as much trade as they can. Meanwhile, Hispania, the Cabo da Boa Esperanza. Keep a good hope to Hispania. So they're going to come into a head-on collision at some point with our African powers. Meanwhile, Jabaraland have landed in the Malayan Peninsula. I'm pretty certain that Australia had Banjar. Now they don't, but they have these three provinces instead. And they are now at war with Kelantan. Kelantan just, yeah, Australia Major doing really well for themselves. Celestial Entente. Oh yeah, they're against the Peyote Khanate. I remember now. So we're gonna pause at in January 1553 and draw our time to a close on session 3. So keep shouting out stuff you want to look at, if anything at all. If you want to have any of these colonial nation names changed, now's the time. Well, any time's the time, really. Varmson down, Varmson down. I repeat, we have a Varmson down. Is that them completely gone? We'll check on the 1st of January. By which I mean the 2nd of January. I actually forgot to make a save game after last session. Thank God the autosaves were still there. So there we have it. An eventful session, but aren't they all? He said, hopefully. I mean, we could search countries by alphabetical order. We have a Valencia, we have a Vermont, we have a Vietnam, we have a Visayas, but we have a no Varmsund. The core still exists. And I think the core on Shayland won't ever go away. I think Shayland, Finn, and Lollands, it won't go away from. How is Brittany still about? How are Brittany still about? Because they are allied with Rhine-Neckar. Looking to dissuade Epiphany from picking on Brittany there. Leave Brittany alone, said Rhine-Neckar famously. Great powers, Hispania rolling ahead. The tributaries behind them. Jabaraland, once they get colonialism, they'll be right up there. As will oh, how have they not got the Renaissance? It's not even touched them? Slavers Bay haven't even touched the Renaissance. How did Jabaraland get it then? Because usually doesn't it just follow all the way around? I think it's because Slavers Bay are hostile to Hispania. Well, if they're not rivals, they're certainly embargoing each other. So it's not going to spread from Cape Verde, as it usually would. So Jubaland have got it through whatever means, but might have even come all the way down through Egypt, Ethiopia, down the Zanzibar coastline. Japan a bit backwards, but of course they are. And let's have a look at the religious divisions. All of France going Protestant. Italy following Zagreb, Protestant and Reformed. A Reformed Centre of Reformation up here in the Dutchlands, as well as one down here. So we're going to have quite the large Reformation, which is bad news for the leader of the Holy Roman Empire. The 9-year-old Alwak von Kamichi. How much money do the tributaries have now? I expect it's far too much. We can check this. I'm just going to sort it by order because, of course, the tributaries will be at the top. Well, it might not be, but it's likely. That's how much money the tributaries have right now. To be fair, they're still raking it in. What are they doing with all that cash? Paying subsidies to anyone? No? Let me read it out to you. JB, I thought you were watching this on your big screen. And you had, oh, everyone's out. Oh, I can watch out on this big screen. Well, let me tell you. In fact, the 4th highest money in the bank is a city of Volstadt. Somehow. The tributaries have 7,398.69 ducats in the bank. That's quite a nice total. Something I'm interested in is army size. Yeah, as I thought, Australia Major. Largest army in the world. Notably highest potential for an army in the world. Shambhala, Yardam, Hispania, Gyanline, Tver. I'll jump into Tver quickly and show you. Because they are a Russian something or other. They're a Russian principality, which means they get big buttons here, like Raise Streltsy, which they can do. So that's why they have only infantry, and it's all Streltsy, which does plus 10 fire damage. So they've got amazing infantry, even beyond their ideas. Well, to be fair, they don't have very much of them, if that was to be believed. Yeah, only 33,000 out of 69. Who has the most mercenaries? Camelot. No manpower for a bunch of our lads here. To be expected, really. What about army losses? Something I'm interested in. Shambhala, of course. Slavers Bay, I can see that. Celestial Entente, yep. How much development is Venice in particular? 37. It is actually going up there. None of these mouse overs are working for this game, so I can't tell how many times it's actually been developed versus how many times it's got up via events. But if we were to jump into the tributaries and look at the missions, yeah, they've gone all the way down through Dominate Trade, of course, which has given them a bunch of bonuses, like gaining tax production and manpower in Valencia. Are the Yuska cores gone? Well, the way cores are supposed to work in this game is that they're supposed to disappear after 50 years. But I noticed in the last campaign that the cores of custom nations didn't disappear. So if we look at Navarra, I think in the Basque places at least, and even the Lyonnese, we'll still see a lot of Yuska cores. Indeed, a lot of the Londo cores there as well. I think the cores of the custom nations will stay. And they may well stay for a very long time. Case in point might be Cyprus down here, still a Varmsund core. I know primary culture cores won't disappear, but I think it's more than that with custom nations, just by what I saw last time. Batnakia, no allies, of course not. Epiphany, what's happened to Epiphany today? Oh, it's been weird for Epiphany. It's worth watching for Epiphany, honestly. They've had quite the ding-dong battle with the Tolerant Left. What's that? They're over a channel? Exactly. Had quite a ding-dong battle with the delegation as well. It's been eventful, though they've not really expanded much. Oh yeah, Nero's dead. Maintaining that Epiphany treaty, but who's to say if that's actually a good idea at this point? They've lost their dynasty. Yeah, the dynasty name was just Nero, now it's Hamilton. I think no, he lost that to Pretender Rebels, actually, is what happened there. Oh, of all the things, we've got Queen Agnes Denial, a 665 ruler. Oh, my days. King Raphael Revanche in Valencia. Is that going to give them, like, plus relations with, Yep, same dynasty, plus 15. Something I'm interested in, the largest cities in the world. London, 42. Jerusalem up at 39, something I'm pleased to see. Anything we're not really expecting here? Road, certainly. The tributaries rule will be really boring because it's a republic. Yeah, 411. For Serene Doge Garino Borromeo. They do well to keep. What's the, Still up at 92 Republican tradition, despite having probably far more than 20 provinces. Lagofia's militarization is probably, again, like a... Oh no, it's right down. I think they finally expanded enough that they're not really getting the militarization. Yeah, the number of provinces has gone far too high. 30% of their land is Gothic, though. I think they've been converting land, perhaps. Because does that all start as Gothic? I don't know. Did your Asian nation die a long time ago? Not a long time ago. It still technically exists. But it's not a great time for it. Weabalumbia is in the ascendancy in Japan. Hanseong in Korea, and the Celestial Entente in China. Those were just lovely verdant green mountains there. The Chigoris. With 3 settlers. Having taken exploration ideas and had one from their ideas. If I wanted to interfere, Chigoris could be colonizing right now. They could be colonizing down here. So, roll Malaysia win. Roll call. I thought you said roll Malaysia win. Like, kind of memey. But currently rolling Malaysia. Well, getting down to Malaysia, really. A lot of how the AI chooses to colonize is down to Techno's trade nodes. But here's the thing. Chigoris probably will have power in Jiren and Nippon. They could because it's... Yeah, of course they have Jiren. Because they have all this land. So they should be colonizing downstream in California. I don't know why they're not. Shambhala had an Erwin, but Shambhala are a holy state, and now they have no air prom. Though they don't maintain dynasties as such. So what we're going to go for, any last requests, I'll give that 30 seconds, then we'll look at the scores, and then we will head off for now. There may or may not be a stream next week. There certainly won't be a stream in 2 weeks, and then 3 weeks after this, so I'm going to try and do the one next week, because we will have an enforced 2-week break. One's for in 3 weeks time. No, in 4 weeks time. No, in 3 weeks time I'm going to be in Dublin. In 2 weeks time I'm going to be doing an essay about the collapse of the Soviet satellite states. I'll tell them about how Kildare lost out to Lagofia. Nero's truce completely up. Mick, how are you still in school? Because I'm doing a degree in history. This is really helping at the age of 29. To be fair, I started it at, what age? 23, 24. I'm doing it part-time. So I can spend the rest of my part-time hours doing stuff like this, clearly. If the questions are turning to my degree and lack of expertise in actual history, then I'm afraid we're going to cut to the scores. The score through the ages. Who won the Age of Discovery? It was, of course, the Tributeers, as they are winning the Age of Reformation. But can they keep up the momentum? Is Hispania hot on their heels? Gorovdesh and Slavers Bay are somewhat going with them. But here's the thing. I think the Tributeers will start to fall behind, because the Venice trade node starts to fall behind when all the trade starts coming in from the west. And Hispania will hoover up a whole load of that trade, as will Epiphany, as might Gorovdesh. The Tolerant Left as well could get in on that. So I'm feeling faint, I'm feeling very hungry. I'm going to go down and get myself some cereal. I think I'm more than likely going to do a stream next week, because I'm taking this essay really seriously, so I'll be doing work before next weekend. As a last note, Epiphany needs to take out Brittany and the delegation. Well, I'm about that. Brittany allied to Rhein-Neckar and Rhein-Neckar on a rampage. Led as they are by Archbishop-Elector Leopold Epiphanes. Right, we're coming out of this game. Europe was a mistake. EU4 was a mistake. I'll tell you what wasn't a mistake. It was you tuning in for this lovely stream. And you need to tune in to the probable stream next week as well. As I say, thank you very much for watching. And I'll see you whenever I see you. There's no point in a Buddhist investigation. I have no idea how it happened.